All right, we welcome you into the Hometown Sports Huddle for this Tuesday, April 21st. I'm Dave Walls. Mitch and Austin are both on assignment tonight, so we will have them later on this week. Watching a couple of different things tonight here on the Huddle. We're going to talk about some rule changes going into effect this summer for the VHSL. We've also got minor league baseball that we're checking in on, and also a basketball coach who is stepping aside. Let's actually go ahead and talk a little bit about the Salem Ridgeacs because they're on WZBJ 24 right now as we are on air live. If you're watching this on a rerun, well, spoiler, you already know what's going to happen. But the Ridgeacs, last check, were up 6-1, having a pretty good day at the plate. They were able to get a couple timely hits, a big 2-run double. Really has been the backbreaker so far for Salem as they are getting the job done. It is the first of 3 games this week here on WZBJ 24 because in addition to today, we've got, let me take my name down so you can actually see the rest of the graphic there. But the Fredericksburg Nationals are in town now tomorrow, the 22nd. It's an 11 a.m. first pitch with the Yaks and the Fredericksburg Nationals. That's because it's Education Day at the ballpark. So there's going to be lots of school children there in attendance and maybe some people sneaking out from work. I mean, I'm not going to tell you, but I'm not going to tattle on you. Don't forget also April 23rd, the following day, we've got the Yaks at a 6:30 start time, so a little bit more back to normal. We've got a huge slate of Ridgeacs games on the Z this year, so you want to go to WDBJ7.com and just search for Salem Ridgeacs. You will find the schedule of when Salem will be on live on our airwaves. So again, they start a little bit earlier tonight at 5 o'clock. Salem getting the job done right now. Hill City is going to be in action tonight over at Lynchburg. They're kicking off just right around now as they are welcoming Hickory, who gave Salem plenty of troubles there this week. They are in Lynchburg for a 6-game set against the Hill City Howlers. All right. As we move on, one of the other big stories that came out today was that basketball coaching news. Kevin Garst, the coach of the Salem Spartans, and he's been there for the last 19 years, is reportedly stepping down. Now, the Roanoke Times is the first to break this. We've reached out to both the school and to him as well, and we will hear back from him hopefully sooner rather than later. But Garst had been at Salem since, 19 years now as the head coach. This is footage that we aired today on the show from way back in 2013. I know when you look at old videos, sometimes you go, wow, was that 40 years ago, 50 years ago? No, that's really 2013. It hasn't been that long ago. But Salem that year won the title under Garst that year. Also, the girls and boys both won the title that year. But Garst, over 260 wins with the Salem Spartans, leading them to district titles, a 2013 title. He was also a player who won the inaugural title for the Spartans back in 1994. So certainly leaving behind a big legacy in Salem, telling the Roanoke Times that it was just time for him to step aside. Really, that was the only reason he's given so far. But certainly 19 years. He actually stepped aside briefly during the COVID era over concerns for health and family safety, which I certainly understand, but then came back after that following year. So 19 years in Salem, and Kevin Garst steps aside. We do wish him the best. Hopefully he will grace the sidelines again here sooner rather than later. But it says a lot about what a school thinks about a coach when you step aside, someone else takes over on an interim basis, and then when it's time to actually hire for that job, once again, COVID was a crazy time, which is hard to believe that's only been 6 years. That same year we played football in the spring. It was a very, very unusual year to be covering local high school sports. But we do wish him the best. He also had stops, I believe, both Patrick Henry and Cave Spring as well. So certainly no stranger to coaching in the Roanoke Valley. So maybe we'll see him pop up again at some point in the future. But Kevin Garst with a great career. All right, moving on. What else do we have? Well, we talked a little bit also about the VHSL today, adding some clarification. And I was going to put it on the screen, but for some reason it is not letting me do that. So instead, we're going to talk about it a little bit because I had the foresight to actually print it out. Yes, the VHSL sending this reminder out to the media today about the new transfer rule exception that's going into effect July 1st this year for players who want to be eligible, I should say, for high school athletics over into 2027. Now, what this means is that the new rule that goes into effect on July 1st of this year, a student has to attend the feeder middle school in 8th grade in order to be immediately eligible as a 9th grader, meaning you don't get a special exemption anymore if you just say, hey, I went to this middle school, but I want to go to that high school, if it's outside of my attendance zone. You can't do that without having to sit out for a full year, which puts a lot of student athletes aside. So really, they're sending this out as a reminder to the media and also to parents that, like, hey, you got to plan ahead, to know where you're going. And after this rule goes into effect, unless you get a physical move, like like say if you're a student athlete and your parents say, hey, we're moving over to this house, dad got a new job, we're over here, whatever the case may be. Other than that, you're not getting an exemption. The only other one it mentions is that if a ninth grade student wants to be immediately eligible outside of the attendance zone where they reside, then the student's going to have to be improved to enter an academy or some sort of specialty program at the high school. So maybe some sort of honors program, something else that would give them a distinction to the VHSL, a special reason why they must attend that high school. So certainly, and this is a 2-page FAQ. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different rules and exemptions. Like, what if my student attends a private middle school and says, well, unless the student will be attending the high school in the attendance zone where the family resides, the student has to withdraw from the private middle school, then enroll in the feeder middle school for the 8th grade year. So they're really clamping down. And as a sportscaster, the one thing I'm going to be interested to see how this affects over the next couple of years are those schools that maybe, students get broken apart on, or, where maybe students go, well, hey, I could attend one of these 2 high schools, and they go, well, I want to go to this one. And everybody seems to want to go to this one. Bedford County sometimes has students who get fractured a little bit where, some students want to go to Jefferson Forest, where admittedly there is a little bit more money in the Forest area, but where maybe Liberty and possibly a Stanton River, can't necessarily financially compete with that. That's all I'm trying to say. And also, in Lynchburg, you've got the one thing this document doesn't mention, I'd love to get some clarification on is, the private schools like an LCA where, they had some issues with students transferring out of public school to go to a private high school. What does this mean for them? Are they going to have to sit out a year unless the parents suddenly move closer to LCA? Who knows? There's always so many gray areas, and so that's why this thing is really a 2-page document, on why, can a student who resides outside the school division but has permission to attend the feeder middle school participate in the high school JV teams? And it says currently 8th grade students who do not reside in the attendance zone of the high school are not permitted. I mean, there's so many different scenarios here. So what we're going to do after the huddle today, I'm going to post this at WDBJ7.com. And I'd love to hear your feedback as to what you think about this. How does this affect local athletes? Because I think my early guess, I could be way off here, but my early guess is this does shake things up a little bit, with student athletes, what are they going to do? Where are they going to go? And they have to plan a little bit more ahead. You can't just say, that's the school I want to go to, even though, you got a closer high school, that you technically live in the attendance zone for. So that's going to certainly shake things up for a few years. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the huddle coming up in about 2 minutes. Stay with us. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hometown Sports Huddle. Again, I'm Dave Walls. A couple of things we're going to watch for. First of all, I'm very excited about tomorrow's version of the Huddle. You'll want to tune in for that because Matt Hagan is a Christiansburg native. We teased him last week. He will be on tomorrow. A legendary IHRA funny car driver, drag racer, and let me tell you something. This man can get the job done. Here's footage of him in Sonoma, California last week. It's on the bottom of your screen. Do not blink.
And this one's going down
that car
to the wire. Finish line, it's going to be Matt Hagan. What a win, what a weekend for Tony Stewart and team. 387.6, 330 miles an hour. Hagan beats the 389 of Ron Capps. This guy
boss Tony Stewart,
can't do anything but win around here.
He's going to join us in studio
Matt
tomorrow.
Hagan has to crack that head in just right. He gets his first victory of the season in the 1,000th funny car race against Ron Capps, a guy you have a ton of respect for. Not only was it
all right, also, we've got the Rail Yard Dogs coming up tomorrow night as they go to Game 3 out in Evansville. We spoke earlier with Dan Bremner, the head coach of the Rail Yard Dogs, who talked about what it's going to take for this team to be able to survive the road challenge going into the home of the defending champs, because Roanoke is a team. I love that goal from Don Marcinkiewicz. Boy, what a move he put on. Roanoke in both games kind of followed a similar story. Get out to an early lead, have a lead after 2 periods, or at least be tied after 2 periods. But in both cases, Evansville then scores goals in rapid succession in the 3rd period. Game 1 slipped away from them. Game 2, they were able to come back and win that one 4-3. So he did mention about, what it's going to take for this team to really get the job done. How they got to be more tenacious. And the other big question I think we got to look at moving forward with the Rail Yard Dogs is the fact that Austin Raudebusch was pulled in the 3rd period. Gabe Rossick came in to finish that one off, but certainly had an off day as well. So I'm going to be interested to see who gets the start in net tomorrow for the Dogs, if it is going to be Raudebusch or if they're going to go with Rossick, who admittedly didn't have to face as many shots down the stretch, because the Dogs defense has been the one consistent they've had in all these games, with the exception of these 3rd period bursts we've been talking about. Is their attack at the blue line has been fantastic, similar to what I think we've seen in the NHL playoffs. When you watch the Flyers and Penguins last night, the Flyers did a tremendous job of blocking shots, forcing turnovers at the blue line, and not allowing the opposition to get a lot of offensive momentum. Now, Evansville, the one thing they've done is in the 3rd period, they've been able to muscle through. Bremner admitted that they have the size advantage in Evansville, and they've been able to, when they have it, been able to break through on limited scoring opportunities in that 3rd period. They've been able to get the job done. But Roanoke's pressure has created plenty of turnovers, especially at the blue line. That's made life a little bit easier in goal, so we'll have to wait and see who does get that stop in that for Roanoke tomorrow. But certainly the offense has also gotten the job done as well, and we've had so many different goal scorers in the series. Finstrom was able to get the game winner last time. Joe Widmar, one of 3 players who makes the all SPHL first team honors. We'll have more on that coming up a little bit later on the website and at 11 o'clock tonight. But certainly Roanoke, games 3 and 4 Wednesday is game 3. We will have highlights. Our sister station in Evansville is going to be providing us with some in-arena clips of that, and then we will have coverage of that. If it goes to a game 5, that'll be this weekend. And, of course, we've got you covered for that right here on WDBJ7. All right, I think that's going to about do it here for the Hometown Sports Huddle tonight. Again, in studio tomorrow, Matt Hagan, funny car driver. He's going to talk, and he's a Hall of Famer for the IHRA. So if you like IHRA, this is the man you want to hear from. Where he's going to be in studio talking about his latest accomplishments, winning that 1,000th IHRA race. Until then, I'm Dave Walls. Hope you have a great night. We will see you tonight on WDBJ7.